Hi, this is Tom Brevoort, and you are listening to the Captain America Comic Fans Podcast.
Greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis. This is episode 135. I am joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there. That is Mr. Bob Lucius. Oh, hey, Bob. I became what? Bulimic. You can read minds?
Derek Zoolander.
Yes, you got it.
Oh, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, he just gave the pursed lips.
Yeah, the blue steel, buddy.
Blue steel. You're gonna throw the blue steel at me. Nice.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not holding back. You don't know when you're gonna sknap one of those screenshots for the Facebook group. I want to be ready.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta love Ben Stiller.
Both of them were great movies.
Yeah,
I know a lot of folks didn't like the second one as much, but I adored it.
Well, yeah, it's Zoolander from 2001. I'm glad you got that, Bob. I don't know how many of our listeners would have gotten it, but then again, we all know I only do this for me. Right. So why did I quote that, Bob? That's an odd one to just pick out of the air, don't you think?
Yeah, well, it's Zoolander, Zolandia. I mean, it's very similar.
Right.
Would that have anything to do with it?
Well, yeah. What's my for 10 episodes? What am I supposed to be doing here?
It's your Z theme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is my Z theme. Because what are we covering today, Bob? That is Captain America Volume 7, number 4. Now, the first 10 issues of this Volume 7, written by Rick Remender and art by John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson. And it's Castaway in Dimension Z for Zola. And so, yeah, my opening to you during these is something that ties in with the letter Z. Now, it's way too hard to do 10 issues in one episode. So we're spreading it out over 10 episodes. So we are doing them the second Wednesday of every month. Now, if you have not listened to the first 3 parts, go back, start with episode 122, then listen 126, and then 131. That's parts 1, 2, and 3. Then come back here for Castaway in Dimension Z, part 4.
I couldn't agree more, Rick.
Now, why did I pick that quote from Zoolander?
I don't know. Are you making fun of my weight? Because I will tell you, Rick, I had my annual physical.
Did you really?
I did. I had my blood work last week, went in for my annual physical. I weigh exactly the same this week as I did the year ago this week. And I was like,
is that a good thing?
Well, it's not bad. I mean, I could stand to lose like maybe, another 5 pounds.
Sure, who can't?
But the nurse came in, she took my blood pressure, took my temperature, asked me a bunch of questions that were intrusive and personal. And I answered them all, cheerfully. And then she says, we have this new program called Move. It's a weight loss program. And she gave me a brochure, and I took it because it came with a free Y membership. So,
and did she say the only way she could have made that better if she said it's a weight loss program for older people.
Right, exactly, right? Yeah. So, and then she proceeded to say, do you want this shot? Do you want this shot? Do you want that shot? And I was like, do you charge for them? And she said, no. And I said, well, then I want them because I don't turn down free things. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I thought maybe that comment was, just a crack about my weight.
No. The quote was, I'm bulimic.
Right.
And then he says, you can read minds. And so, there's a little bit of reading minds in this issue that we're covering in this episode. So I thought it was an appropriate comment.
Yeah. Nicely done.
Yeah. Well, you know me.
Yeah.
Full circle. There's some other funny quotes from that movie. Derek Zoolander says to Matilda, "Why do you hate models? Honestly, yes. I think they're vain, stupid, and incredibly self-centered. I totally agree with you. But how do you feel about male models?"
Uh, the whole
Uh,
school for children who can't read good. Classic.
it really is. But there's
Classic stuff.
totally
Yeah.
funny quotes in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Will Ferrell.
I haven't seen that since it came out. It's been 20 years. I need to go back and rewatch that.
Definitely worth. It probably deserves a sit down with me and the boy to catch up.
Oh,
catch
yeah,
up with
totally.
Zoolander at this point.
Yeah, because when Owen Wilson's really good in it, and Will Ferrell, it's got a great cast.
It's got all kinds of good. What's up, Mila Jovanovic?
Oh yeah,
That too, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm a big fan of Ben Stiller movies. He's
oh, he's good.
They kind of fly below the radar sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was that one about the neighborhood watch I thought was
amusing. Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't like, none of them are like, Oscar material, but it's I can like sit there for a couple hours, drink a beer and watch a Ben Stiller movie and I come away satisfied. So
yeah, no, Dodgeball,
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's such a person you love to hate in that movie.
Right. Yeah.
And then of course then he could play the ones that are adorable and you love to love. Like what's the one with
De Niro?
No. Franks and beans.
What is that one?
Why can I not remember the name?
I know. Yeah. I can. It's rattling around in my brain.
I wanted to say When Harry Met Sally, but that's not right. But why do I want to say that? Oh gosh, what is that movie?
There's
Something About Mary.
Something about Mary. That's what it is. Diaz, right?
Yeah. And he's lovable in that one, right? But then he could play the real jerk, and I loved him in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
As the magician that was went up against Job. Did you ever watch that?
I've only caught a few episodes here and there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Watch that series. My favorite all-time comedy is Arrested Development. Go back. You got to start with season 1. First 3 seasons are amazing. And then there's a lot of time off. They do a 4th season. Then there's a lot of time off. They do a 5th season. But my wife claims I have a man crush on Jason Bateman. Because he's just, he's a few years older than me.
Yeah.
I've always loved him in everything, back when I was a kid, and he was in Fox, and he was on Silver Spoons, and there was like this spinoff called It's Your Move. Where it was like a short 1 season where he played a prankster / con artist. He was a teenager, but in this apartment complex, and then across the hall was this grown adult who was like his rival, and the two of them used to prank each other and like just one up each other and do like these horrible things. But the problem was, and this is, I don't know, late 80s, I couldn't even tell you, mid 80s, it was when Fox started. Okay, Fox had only been out maybe 1 or 2 seasons at this point, and there was enough parents, moms really, writing into Fox and complaining that their kids were doing these horrible things after watching this TV show that it actually got taken off the air.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cancel culture.
I know.
Right.
And then he was, in all those movies like, Teen Wolf and a few other things. And then he disappeared. And then he came back in Arrested Development, and it was like, Arrested Development is my sense of humor. It's very dry.
Yeah.
Very, very dry. Very, off, like throwaway lines. Just some bizarre, silly stuff, but all done in a dramedy type of way.
Right.
And the cast is amazing. It's an amazing cast, amazing writing. I could go on and on, but yeah, just you need to see Arrested Development.
I worked for a guy once, a colonel, that we get performance evaluations just like in the civilian world. And he wrote on a performance evaluation for my friend, dry wit, hard to get to know. Like, who writes that on a performance evaluation?
Well,
You know,
it is like I get, and listen, this is not something I'm proud of, but I kind of am. Where my wife, my two children, and a lot of will tell me this, but I know there's a lot of people who think this and don't tell me, and I never know when you're joking. And because I say things so flatly, so dryly that, a lot of people don't know I am totally like just being a smart ass, but I'm,
yeah.
and so I can see it on a performance review, someone writing something about me, it's, I never know when he's joking. Yeah. He's hard to read.
Are you being serious right now?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, indeed. Dry wit, hard to get to know, folks.
It is.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, but Bob, before we really get anything, I haven't asked you, how are you doing? What's your week doing like?
Yeah, it's going all right. It's going all right, Rick. Busy. End of the semester, wrapping that up, getting ready for the next semester, wrapping down season. We lead a lot of hikes and educational programs in my day job, but it's getting to the point now we're starting to get a little bit of rain down here, and it's going to start picking up, every day, and that means the trails get flooded and hard to get folks out there. They don't want to be up to water up to their butthole, so things will slow down a bit on that front. So I'm happy to sort of wrap it up and wind down and be able to focus on doing some planning and stuff and get ready for next year. So how about you?
Rainy season, huh? That reminds me of, talk about dry humor. When I moved to Atlanta, I grew up in Delaware. And so when I moved to Atlanta, I left a lot of my friends back home. And this was before the internet. This is before cell phones.
All right.
And so you would write letters back then, right? You would send postcards or write letters. So I decided to do a generic form letter.
Oh, yeah.
I typed it out.
Yeah.
Made copies, and then I filled in their name here and there just as a smartass, right? And I'd be like, "Dear blank," and I would write in Jeff. And it's been blank since I've talked to you last, and I would handwrite that in, right? Yeah. And just as a joke, and I would do this. And
was it taken as a joke?
My friends knew me.
Oh, okay,
my friends totally know me, absolutely. And so I remember one of them was, now that I'm living here in the South, I keep waiting for the popcorn, but it doesn't come. But we do get a lot of bursts of showers.
I don't get it.
Popcorn showers.
I've never heard of that phrase.
Oh, that was a total phrase back then. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe in Georgia.
It's basically bursts of showers,
okay.
Like, it is in Florida, you'll be having beautiful skies and then showers come in every day for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then boom, they go away.
Oh yeah.
All right, never mind. If I have to explain the joke,
I have another word for those, but I can't say that on the air because we use polite language. I hate those afternoon showers.
Oh, can you
because I'm usually like doing something outside at the time. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, it starts with an F and ends with God damn it.
Let's not take the Lord's name in vain.
No,
please.
No.
All right.
I mean, it's an honest request.
Oh, I see.
A prayerful, honest request.
Okay, fair enough. What were we talking about? Oh, how I'm doing. So if my voice goes today, it's because if I nod off.
American Idol audition?
No. At work today was my big presentation. So that was just like 5 hours ago. But it's a lot of work and spent weeks getting ready for it. And then, there's a lot of stress. And then I drain my voice talking, so if my voice sounds a little weak, it's best because why, and then, you know, but it's over, it's done with, and you know, starting tomorrow, I'll start preparing for the next one.
Do you when you start, you go, hold all questions to the end, please? You do that? That's a very military thing to do. That's what we do in the military.
No, I actually
Yeah.
didn't. I did the opposite. I
Did
said,
you?
okay, so this is going to be, I'm not going to just sit here and give a presentation. Don't raise your hand, like, you know, because we're on Zoom or whatever. You know, don't raise your hand if you have a question. Just feel free to shout it out. This is a conversation. I want to have a discussion here and really talk this through. And you know, it's not going to be just me here talking about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd that go?
It was me talking about a bunch of stuff.
Everybody else is on mute and mute their camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I go to a lot of faculty meetings like that, and everybody mutes their camera. I don't, of course, because I like to, you know, I got to score points where I can. So I look like.
Oh yeah, when you got a listen, when you got a
rapt
moneymaker
attention.
like that, Bob, you don't want to hide that.
Oh no, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Especially because it only shows from the neck up. You don't have to worry about the rest of it. That apparently you need to
yeah,
go
and
to
I'm usually
weight
naked,
loss
so
class.
that would be inappropriate anyway. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have to tell you a horrible story. So I have a friend of mine. All right, I know this guy who, he had he's like a high-ranking official at a company.
Okay.
Okay.
At a company, yeah.
I'm not going to say which business or
no
anything like that, but he was on a Zoom call just a couple years ago, like 3 years ago, and it was he thought he had his camera off.
Yeah.
And it was hot.
Yeah.
So he took his shirt off. And I'm not saying he had a dress shirt and he took his dress shirt off and there was a t-shirt underneath. No.
Yeah.
No.
Was he a bodybuilder?
No. And he was probably in his early 60s at the time.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He gets hot flashes. You know?
And HR had a conversation with him. I was horrified when he told me this story. I felt so awful for him because he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. And he was just an honest mistake.
Yeah.
But he didn't know. And
well,
no one told him.
If he had his cat filter on, he would have had 6 nipples.
Okay. All right.
That's awesome.
Bob, celebrating birthday this week, we have a Captain America creator. You know, today, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, it's May 10th. His birthday is in 4 days, May 14th, and that is Mr. Dave Hoover.
Dave Hoover, yes.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Exactly. Dave was on the very end of Mark Gruenwald's run for Captain America on Volume 1. So he did in 1994 and 1995, he did issues 425 through 443. We haven't covered any of them because it's very long. 425 kicks off the Fighting Chance story, which was like a 13 parts. And then it was the last, I don't know, 7-parter or something like that, you know, in the armor. You know, when the last 6 or 7 issues were Cap's in the armor, you know, so those were all Dave Hoover issues. So yeah, he did pass away at the young age. I want to say it was like 56. Yeah. So he passed away in September of 2011. But yeah, it was a shame. And it was interesting. When we had Mike Rockowitz on, the editor during 90s, when Mark Gruenwald was writing, and listen, if you want to check that out, that's episode 56. It was a great conversation with Mike about 90s comics and some of the hilarious behind the stories. But he actually was responsible for bringing Dave Hoover on to the Captain America series. He liked what he saw in the Invaders miniseries back in 1993. So he decided to let Rick Levins go and bring on Dave Hoover. And so anyway, wishing, you know, just good thoughts towards Dave Hoover on his upcoming birthday.
Rick's wearing his Red Skull shirt tonight. Rick, I like that shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt.
Yeah, we're both wearing red shirts tonight.
We are. I'm wearing a Mr. Incredible though, so yeah.
I don't have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I know. This is, it's my sleeping shirt, Rick. I'm in my
Are you planning on
jammies.
nodding off during this?
Well, I might put my head down, just to rest. Not saying I'm going to sleep, just resting my eyes.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, let's get to the issue. So as I said before, it's Captain America Volume 7, number 4. This had a release date of February 20th, 2013. It had a cover date of April 2013. And the creators are the same as previously. So as I mentioned, we have Rick Remender as the writer, John Romita Jr. as the penciler, Klaus Janson. Is it Klaus Janson? Klaus Janson? Janson. I really don't know how to pronounce his name. Because I've heard it different ways.
Right.
And,
yeah.
But he's an amazing inker and embellisher and finisher. And the colorists, we got 2 colorists just like last time. We have Dean White and Lee Lowbridge. Letterer Joe Caramanga. Editor Tom Brevoort and Lauren Sankovic. Would you like me to read the solicitation for this one, Bob?
I'm not going to be happy unless you do.
All right. I feel like I got to yell it because it's in all caps.
That is the standard. Yeah.
Okay. Introducing Jet Black. She's waited her whole life for the chance to destroy Captain America. And that's it. That's the whole solicitation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I guess they decided to put it in all caps because they were lacking content.
Short on words, so make it big and bold.
Yeah. The cover here, Bob, it is by John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson. Would you like to take the listeners through the cover?
Sure, Rick. It's quite a busy cover. We're in a setting. It looks a lot like, if you were to take the cupola off the U.S. Capitol building, right, and remove all of the the walls and everything, and just have the superstructure, it looks like we're in one of those.
What's a cupola?
A cupola, that.
I mean, I loved Frank's movies, but
I guess like a rotunda, like on top of the U.S. Capitol building, that roundish thing, right?
My uncle John, he was a riot. He was hilarious. When he would talk about someone who was heavy, he would say, "El Rotundo." All right, so the rotunda.
Is this another joke about because of the whole weight loss?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, just keep talking about.
Keeping my eye on you. All right.
See, I look at it, and I think she's in a birdcage.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. That's all right.
Or it's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
It does look a bit like the Thunderdome. It does. Yeah. And we see in the background there is a Zola on his throne.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of chilling on the throne, and everywhere around him are mutates. And I will say, hanging off the superstructure of this birdcage / Thunderdome / Rotunda, and behind Zola, I don't know if you noticed this, but it looks a bit like Doughboy, right? Doesn't it?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Like Doughboy, God bless his soul. And then in the foreground, we see Jet Black. And now she's quite a bit older than we remember her in the first issue when she was a very young girl.
And she went into like that, arena to fight those creatures, and the door closed behind him. And she was just a little girl.
Yeah. Well, apparently she survived, and now she's a grown woman.
Yeah, she is.
And she has long black hair, and she's wearing a skin tight black.
I love that you always point out the women wearing skin tight. You never talk about Cap wearing a skin tight uniform. You said last time that you were going to start doing that. You haven't, but you are pointing out her skin tight.
Well, I think it's important, and
It is important. Oh God, you look at it.
Extremely important. She does have a red cape. I don't think capes are a good idea. I'm wearing my Incredible shirt tonight. I know what can happen, but it's a mid-length cape, right? It only comes down to really her waist. And the interesting thing about her bodysuit, this black skin tight bodysuit, is it has gold trim. It's an odd
Oh, it
pattern.
does.
There's stripes around her calves. There's stripes around her upper thighs
Oh,
and
yeah.
around her wrists area and upper arms, and then weird shapes across her torso and abdomen. And then on her shoulders,
Keep going.
she
Keep
has
going.
some armored, pauldrons that essentially reach from the top of her shoulders down.
I learn
to
new
her
words
elbows.
every time with you.
Yeah, you know how I know pauldron? It's a long course of study. You would think I would have learned this in my military career over several decades, but no, I learned it from Legos because my son used to have the Stormtrooper Legos, and he always wanted the pauldrons, the little red pauldrons that Stormtroopers. They're a sign of, I guess, rank or the type of Stormtrooper they are. So that's how I learned what pauldrons are. So
she doesn't have this. They don't look rankish. They look more like defensive.
Yeah, but they are defensive. They're a combination of like a pauldron and a gauntlet or something, armored for her shoulders, right? And then she's got two big staffs.
Yes,
that are metal, and probably, knowing Zola, they probably have special capabilities. And then some headgear, right? And it's very reminiscent, has a sort of Loki look to it.
Oh, yeah.
Gold band across the forehead, and then these sort of swooping things on either side of her head, pointing up and down across her cheekbones. And she's a good looking woman, right? Yeah, but she looks fierce. She looks like she's getting ready to engage in combat with somebody approaching her.
So I like, well done on the description. Very well done. I like what you said. I'm looking at the black skin tight uniform, and I'm looking at the middle on the torso. And now you won't be able to unsee it, but it is an outline of Mickey Mouse.
It does appear to be Mickey Mouse. You can see
right in the
ears.
middle of the torso is Mickey Mouse's body, and then you have little stick arms and stick legs, and then you have the big ears.
Yeah, I don't know why those big ears would be where they are, but it's
because that's her breast.
Oh, the breastises. Yes, you're right. Now that you mention it, now that you point them out, yes.
Oh, it's amazing. We haven't left 15.
I know. I'm sorry to our one female listener.
Oh, we have plenty of female listeners. There's like three.
Okay, well, three. I'm sorry to three of them for our immaturity.
Yeah. No, actually, I forgot. I haven't looked at the demographics in a while. But it's probably like 95% male, 5% women. That's probably how it is. But anyway, so let's get to the comic, Bob. Let's get inside. First page. We won't count this as a page. It's a recap page, so it's not a page. But you like to do the previously, and you do such a great job, Bob. I think you should do it.
Thank you for the privilege, Rick. I won't blow it. Previously, transported
you
to
just leave me to judge that.
Previously, transported to Dimension Z through the evil machinations of Arnim Zola, Captain America was subjected to strange and terrible experiments. He escaped Zola's clutches with one of two infants Zola had in the lab, and survived with young Ian in the wilderness of Dimension Z while evading Zola's monstrous mutates. A year later, the two were captured by the Frocks, where Steve and Ian again narrowly escaped death after being mistaken for disciples of Zola. However, they are not out of danger yet, as their alliance with the Zola-hating Frocks is tenuous. And Zola's experiments on Steve have not only begun to make him weak and ill, they've yielded a version of Zola's electronic visage on Steve's torso.
Very nice. And that's how we left. Every issue is a cliffhanger. And so last issue, we had Cap go up against the leader Frocks, and he goes up against to fight him, and he gets sliced in the torso, and he then defeats him. He goes off, and he's wondering why he's not bleeding more, and turns out underneath the skin and the flesh on his chest, there is a screen of Zola's face. Just like on the middle of Zola's body is his face, in the middle of Steve's body is Zola's face. And it's talking, and it was talking to him, and I think it said something like, something about being his friend, like don't hurt we're very close, or something like that. It was play on words.
Yeah, it was very
But
weird.
it was quite the what?
Yeah, that was a full page splash too, if I recall, of him ripping open his shirt.
I believe you're right.
That. Yeah.
All right, let's get to this comic. We go to the next page, and Bob, holy crap.
Yeah.
Really? Are you kidding me here?
I want to know who owns this full page splash, because I want it.
Well, you said, that was the same joke you said when it said 1 year later. You got to get new material, Bob.
I'm consistent. That's all.
Uh-huh.
You know what to get with me.
It says 11 years later. Holy crap. Are you kidding me? Cap has been in Dimension Z 12 years. That's crazy.
That is crazy if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the idea, the whole man out of time story played its course. Quite frankly, it got old after a while, but that was the big thing, right? Cap was 22 years out of time, when they found him in 1964, right? So if you think about it, 22 years, it's like you and me. Like if we go back to 2001, are we really a man out of time? Like,
right.
would we feel like, if we went from 2001 to now,
yeah,
sure, there's some things that are different, but it wouldn't have been like,
the flying cars would throw me, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, all that stuff, robots, stuff like that catch me unawares.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well,
So anyway, here we are 11 years later. Truly, Rick Remender is writing a story of Cap, a man out of time. And this is going to have major league effects after this story. And we'll get to that towards the end of this, but I don't know. I can't emphasize enough. That's crazy. We just skipped 11 years.
Right. Yeah.
So
well, all right. Never mind.
So we get to this next page, and it is a panel page. It's got 5 panels on there, and it's really kind of crazy. In this Dimension Z, it's very different here, right? There's creatures, the landscape, the skies, everything is a little different, a little weird. And in this case, we have like purple skies, and it's raining, and we see these creatures that are flying around these weird looking bushes and trees. And we hear the inner monologue of Steve Rogers. My head hasn't been this clear in months. Zola's gone quiet, taking a rest from his tireless assaults on my mind. But he's there, biding his time. And then these creatures that are flying around, they almost look like fish.
Right. Flying fish.
But then behind them, instead of a fin, it's more like tentacles, right? So, and then they have antenna where their eyes should be, and they're flying around at night, skulking through my dreams, watching, learning, look for a weakness to fill me with despair. He preys on my desolation, my longing for home, any way to get in. And then we cut to who's been watching these flying fish, but it's Steve and an older Ian, because it is 11 years later. And Ian has the shield. Quickly. Now. My only protection is to keep the fear at bay, to stay focused on the positive and what I have here. I never intended to raise this boy, but I'm glad to have saved him from Zola. And Ian throws the shield to release a giant net over top of the fish, but the fish get away. And Ian, an older Ian, he's about 12 or 13 here, says to Steve. Now, Steve has got his uniform is in tatters, right? I mean, this is the same uniform he's been wearing every day for 12 years. And it's got holes, it's got rips. The big rip across the torso, remember when he was cut there, is all like tied together, almost like shoelaces. It looks very homemade. And then he still has the beard, but his hair is cut short, but it's choppy, as if someone cut it with a knife rather than like haircut scissors or something. And then Ian is running, and he's got longer hair, and he has a little uniform with like maybe some armor on it to help protect him. And they are running after the fish. You tied the net too high. You waited too long to drop it. And they bicker back and forth as the shield comes back to Steve's hand. Pointing fingers isn't going to feed the tribe, but at least they'll know who to blame. And then he says to Ian, the shield flies faster than you expect. You still haven't mastered it. And then they're running towards a cliff. So I'm going to cut back to Steve's inner monologue. And I'm going to go back just a little bit to capture this. But I'm glad to have saved him from Zola. Grateful to have had this time to watch him grow and teach, to train and teach him, to offer him a different path than the one Zola would have mapped. The boy's hot-tempered, sarcastic, and brash, but he's also honest, loyal, and tenacious. So there is this to be glad for. If I hadn't stepped on that train, I'd never have had the privilege of knowing Ian. And then they cut to the next page as they're leaping off the cliff. And it's an amazing image of Steve, full body, taking the shield, about to launch it, with a young Ian leaping next to him. But the two words, the two blocks of words here on the page are powerful, Bob. And Steve finishes his thought by saying, I'd have never met my son. And then Ian says, show me how it's done, Pop. How cool is that?
Very cool.
I got to tell you, this hits me hard in the feels, because this is the first time we have seen Steve Rogers come out and say that he's a dad. And as a dad, that's really cool. Like I never really could relate to Steve on a lot of levels, his physical prowess, his, being an Avengers, and so on. But I could relate to Steve Rogers, the man. I could relate to his personality. I could relate to his morals and things like that. But now I can relate to him as a father. And this was so cool for him to say, I'd never have met my son. And then the other cool thing was, when this came out, my son was about the same age as Ian here in this story. And he was, going on 12. And so he was roughly around the same age. And it was so cool. And it just impacted me so much. I love this page so much, so that I am really like grateful and honored that I was able to get this piece from an auction earlier this year. And so I'm now the proud owner of this particular page.
You got that hanging up there, Rick?
I don't have it hanging, but I have it right here next to me.
Oh, there it is.
It's on my desk.
Uh-huh.
And I keep it sitting here right next to me so I can look at it every day.
Nice. That is nice. Beautiful. Folks can't see it, but it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah. I've shared it. I've shared it in the Facebook group, and maybe I'll put it in the comments or something when we go to post this in the Facebook group. But I don't. I just love this page. And then, as I said, Ian said, "Show me how it's done, Pop," and he says, "I aim to impress," and he throws the shield in a way that's different than normal because the shield is upside down as he's throwing it. But he hits the flying fish and it ricochets off and they land on the other side of the jump, and he gets the shield back into his hand, and Ian says, pretty good. Pretty good. I just don't understand why we don't use the pistol. Total precision over brute force. A pistol doesn't become a part of you the same way. It's important you learn to use her. You'll take it one day when I'm gone. Does everyone on Earth love an inanimate discus, or is it just, whoa? And they come up on a camp but it's not just a camp. I mean, it's a building and everything. A mutate outpost. Never seen this one close to home before. Zola's army is spreading. Let's get out of here. Mutate troopers are likely nearby. And then we see one come up from behind holding a weapon, about to fire it at them. And just then, Ian pushes Steve away and pulls out the pistol from his holster. And he yells, "Look out!" And he fires it point blank in the face of the approaching creature and kills it. Makes a noise, Bob.
What?
It came from nowhere. And Steve takes the gun out of his hand. It's okay. It's a clean shot, son. No other choice. If Zola finds the Frog's Cavern, Zola will take them for his experiments. Hurry. We have to get that burrow squid back to the clan. Food reserves are low. They're counting on us. What the hell could they be doing this far out? Language. Learned it from you. Well, whatever he wants, he's getting closer to us. And then Cap goes and he sees like a computer with a screen. The readout on this bike. The map is functional. My God, this is the key to everything. This is what we've been looking for. What? It's a map to Zealandia. A map to the tunnel that can take us home. Home? You mean your home? Not my home. I don't even know where my home is. Ian, I found you in a dangerous situation and you got me out. I've heard it 1,000,000 times. I'm old enough. I have the right to know where I came from. Who was my real father? What happened to my mother? And then just then we see another voice, but I think it's only a voice that Steve can hear in his head. Ah, the mother. Yes. Let's tell the boy, Steve. You can see Ian's sweet mother, my beautiful Mary. She wouldn't give me children. Tried to leave me when she discovered my lab. I let her leave in the town car to believe she had a chance of escape before I shot the tires out. You now remember the excitement I felt as I watched her crash. You remember the stark horror on her face as we pulled her from the wreckage. I got away in the end, didn't I? Tell him there is no escaping the will of Zola. And all during this, Steve's grimacing as if in pain. And then he gets down to his knees and he puts his hands over his ears and his face. No, stop, please. Tell the boy the truth about what his father did to his mother. And Ian looks very concerned. Dad? And we cut to the Lower East Side of Manhattan in 1933. And it's a young boy with almost the same expression of concern on his face. And he is it's a young Steve Rogers who is next to his mom, who is lying in bed, sick. Ma, the sulfonamide therapy. Yes, Angel. Is it time for my medicine? Doc Williams gave us all he had, Ma. Go with your grandfather. Get more, Angel. Hurry now. Grandpa Ian, Ma, Grandpa passed away last winter. Open up, Rogers. I know you're in there. And then Steve goes to answer the door. Hello, Steve. I appreciate you having integrity enough to answer your door, boy. Not all my tenants share your manners. Doesn't change that you're 2 months behind on rent. And how would you describe the landlord, Bob?
I'd say basically a fat Hitler. A rotundo.
Okay. Yes, he is a large man.
Yeah.
He kind of resembles the Laurel and Hardy guy.
Yeah. Hardy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The chubby one. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
he does. With the Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you pay me now. My ma's sick. She hasn't been able to work, and I've had to care for her, so I haven't made any. I do not care. Rent tomorrow, or you and your ma'll have to go. Sorry. Stephen, who was it? No one, Ma. I just got to run out for a bit. All right, Bob, next page is a huge splash. Can you describe it maybe to the listeners?
Sure. It's a street scene, clearly from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It's early winter, and so it's snowing out. Folks are bundled up, and you can tell we are in the midst of the Great Depression. There's folks sitting, begging on the sidewalk, but there's also a guy with I think they're colloquially known as a sandwich board, the sign that hangs in the front and the back. And it says, I need work, family man, age 35, and then some additional details. So there's some horse-drawn carriages, a couple, I think it's a Model A. Is that what that is in the background? So very, very much at that transition point between, where they're still using horse-drawn carriages and automotive vehicles. There's sellers of fruit on the side of the road. It's just a busy street scene that you might expect to see in old New York City in the 1930s.
Very well put. So then we see Steve walking on the sidewalk, and he comes up to a young girl who's sitting on the steps in front of a building. Deidre? Steve, I need help. My ma's sick. If I can't get her medicine, I don't know what's going to happen. God, Steve, I'm so sorry. Do you think, can you do me a favor? So then we go inside the building, and then who's there, Bob?
It's that bully and his friends, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what's his name?
I can't remember his name. Dingleberry, I think. No, was that it? No.
Yeah, kind of. And they're sitting around a table. They're playing cards. And there's money on the table, dollar bills. I mean, it's 1933, and there's cash on the table.
Yeah.
Right? They're not just playing with little coins and stuff. This is serious money. And so they're there, and they're smoking and they're drinking. And the big bully says, Steve Rogers, same runt, wouldn't so much as introduce old Hutch to his ma. But now that she's sick, he comes to me for help. And Deidre, apparently, her and Hutch are an item now. So she goes up and she puts her hand on his chin and, come on, baby. It's his ma. Street code still means something. Can't you help him? Help some, please? Sure. And he takes the toothpick out of his mouth because, guys walk around with toothpicks in their mouth. You were a tough guy if you did
Oh,
that.
that's cool. Yeah.
Sure, I can help. And he smiles. Help Shrimpo to help himself. And we cut to in front of the pharmacy. There's a young boy there, and he's holding up the Daily Bugle. And what's the headline say, Bob?
Hitler made Chancellor of Germany.
Hot off the press, just 2 cents. And so Steve goes in and he closes the door behind him in the pharmacy, and there's an older man there, white hair and a long mustache, wearing a suit without the sport coat.
Yeah, he's got the vest on, right? With the pocket
tie.
with the tie, with that chain that, yeah.
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 Can I help you? I don't. And then just then a brick comes through the window. And it makes a noise, Bob.
Gosh.
And Steve puts his hands up to hide himself from the broken glass. And the proprietor goes outside and he sees these two guys there, but they're not running away. They're like, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Lousy little punk rats. What are you after? You got a cure for this rash? I got on my can, mister. And he turns and shows his butt at him. Come on over and get a good close look. And as he's doing that, Steve's going in and he's stealing the medicine jars that he needs for his ma. And then he sees the cash registers open. And he goes in and he pulls a whole bunch of $10 bills. That's a lot of money back then. And the proprietor turns around to go back in and, rotten damn kids. I'm sorry, son. Come back and I'll help you. No, thanks. And he walks away. I think I changed my mind. And he goes and he sees Hutch and the other kid. Well, did you pull your big heist? Hand it over. And he hands him the cash. Nice. But I know what he had in the till. Kept some, didn't you, Shrimpo? Go on, keep it. Shows you got some stones. Might make an honest gangster out of you yet. Should be proud of yourself, Rogers. And he puts his hand on top of his head and rustles his hair. You done good. So Steve walks in with a bag full of, looks like groceries and the medicine. Steve, the rent, we need to find the money. Salvador came back. And he's giving the medicine to his mom in a glass. I paid him, Ma. I've been working a new job. It'll be okay. I'll keep working. I'll get us what we need. Just till you're better again, okay? I promise. I'll do whatever it takes. And she's laying on her bed and she can't even lift her head up. Not whatever it takes, Steve. I don't know where you got this money, but you listen to me. Your father let his circumstances change him from a good man to a weak one. You promise me you'll never do the same, Steve. You promise me no matter what, you'll be a good, honorable man, no matter the circumstances. It would kill me to see these hard times change you. You're a good person, Steve. Promise me you'll always keep that intact. So we cut to the next panel. And Steve's going back into the pharmacy. Can I help you? I'm the boy who stole your money. And the man who had his back to him up on a ladder slowly turns and doesn't say anything. My mom's real sick and it doesn't make it right. I know. I'm sorry. I know it was wrong. If you'll let me, I'll work off the money and the damages. I'm a hard worker. I'll work as long as you say until you're paid back. Then he looks at him, and then he points to the back. Broom and mop in the back. Get started before I change my mind. And then we cut to a panel. It's dark. It's just a dark panel, but it has a few thought balloons. And if I'm looking at the font right, it's the same type of balloons that we heard from Arnim Zola in Steve's head before. You're nothing to him but ransom, a tool to get at me. Your captor is a thief, a common kidnapper. He is not your father. I am. And we cut to Ian looking over a resting Steve and seeing the face of Zola on Steve's abdomen. And he's basically finding out that, Zola is talking directly to Ian. And Steve wakes up. No. Escape. Go now. Kill the charlatan if you must. Shut the hell up. What is that? That face. It's him? Are you Zola? No. It's a Zola consciousness virus. Is it true? Is it? Zola is my father? And Steve just looks at him and doesn't know how to react. It's true. And you never told me. I couldn't leave you in his hands. A young child. I couldn't just leave you. Before we left, he infected me with this virus, and he's wrapping himself back up so no one could see it. It's been trying to take me over for years, Ian. His mind is seeping into mine. His memories intermingling with my own. I can't fight it anymore. And he looks down. When? When were you going to tell me? When there was no longer any hope I could hold him off. But now we know how to get to Earth. We're getting out of here, Ian. Now. What about the frocks? If Zola finds them, we'll come back with my friends, the Avengers. Whoever is left. We'll come back. But we must go now. If I don't get back soon and get help, Zola will finish me. And it's funny, when he was saying all that, we see another mural that was painted on the wall. And who is it, Bob?
Yeah, it's obviously some of the Avengers. We see the Hulk, we see Thor, we see Iron Man and Spider-Man and Hawkeye. And I'm not sure, is that supposed to be Black Widow? Who is that?
I don't know.
I don't know who that is. I mean, it looks like she has, it could be a hood and not gold hair. I'm not sure who that is. But it's an interesting mural. I guess he painted that mural. Yeah. Some sort of comfort in his quarters.
Yeah. So then we cut to, a pretty big panel of it looks like Zealandia, where the woman we saw on the cover, she is flying some sort of contraption that has one of the frocks in captivity on there, and she's flying through the city, and then she lands, and then we see all those mutates. Pink face bring food. We do the kills. Mutates am the ones. And then we see two guards there. All gravel before Her Grand Majesty, Jet Black, Princess Zola. And so she brings the captive into Zola, who is sitting on the throne that you mentioned on the front cover, and the Terror Dome above them. I found this one in the Red Springs, Father, alone. Odd. A Fox chief never leaves his tribe. We must have killed them. No, the Mind Walkers saw his thoughts. He was banished years ago. Banished by Captain America. It can't be. He couldn't possibly have survived. Zola. And all right, all right. I'm gonna have to pivot here, Bob. So I was going to do this as t-shirt worthy, but I'm gonna do it as my favorite panel instead, and that is page for the splash, right? The one where he says, "I'd never met my son." The page I own, right? This is of all the pages in panels in this story, this is my favorite for all the reasons I said before, right?
Yeah.
This is the very first time that we see Cap referred to as a father. And it's very impactful. And I loved also the way that Remita does the layout of this. So you see the way Cap is twisting his body, and it's an amazing page. So I was going to do this as t-shirt worthy, but instead I'll do this as my favorite panel since you took mine.
Oh, well, it's a good choice nonetheless. But what about t-shirt worthy?
I'm going to go with the next panel on the next
Ooh,
page where
right.
Cap throws the shield upside down.
Nice.
And he says, "I aim to impress." Right? I
Yeah.
would want that on a t-shirt with the word balloon and the shield being thrown. I want that whole image.
Interesting.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. I like it. I'm going to go with the last page. I should say the last splash page before the last page. And that is of the 4 Captain Zolandia. I sometimes like a nice villain shirt. I've got a nice Red Skull one. And I think, done right, this could be kind of a cool image on a shirt. So I'm going to go with that one just to be different.
That is totally different. What are you putting in your time capsule?
Ooh, well, tough choice, Rick. Tough choice.
Yeah, that's fine. Go with the obvious one, Bob.
Which is the obvious one to you?
That's what you said to me before. The previous.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with the sulfonamides.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the sulfonamides because that was definitely a product of their time, right?
And it was a tongue twister for me.
Yeah, it was a tongue twister for you. They came out in the 1930s, and by the 1940s, they were largely overtaken by penicillin. So, for that brief time period, they were the only really antibacterial medicine out there available. So,
how'd you know that?
Yeah, created by Germans, actually, German laboratories.
How did you know that?
Because I researched it, Rick. I like to research and prepare.
So you
for
never,
this show.
before reading this issue, you never knew that? And
I knew sulfur medicines, right? Sulfur medicines were commonly used in World War II. They were issued to soldiers. So, I knew that because they didn't really have penicillin up in production until almost by 1943, 1944. So before then, they would give you sulfur. You just dump it in wounds or take it in water and stuff. It wasn't nearly as effective as penicillin as an antibiotic. But so I knew that, but I didn't really know the history of when the sulfonamides were developed. So it piqued my interest. So I looked it up.
Yeah. You know what my dad used to have? He used to have iodine. And that stung like wouldn't. That hurt.
I'll never forget putting that on one of my son's cuts.
You'd get a cut and then you'd be crying, right? Because you're a little kid and you'd be crying. And he'd be like, "You want me to get the iodine?" And he'd stop crying because the iodine hurt worse than the cut.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff.
Oh, good time. Yeah. And then when they created Bactine, I was like, "Oh, hey." You know what? Get the ouch out or whatever the tagline was.
Get the ouch out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Bactine was so much better than iodine. Oh, my God.
Bringing back the memories. Well, what about your time capsule, Rick?
I'm going to go with page 10. That gigantic splash that you so beautifully described.
Nice.
Right? Because there's just so much going on in there.
Yeah. That's a great page.
Really captures that time period. I mean, it really is. It's that's going in my time capsule for obvious reasons.
so much detail,
Mhm.
and and I got to tell you, I thought you were going to go with the Daily Bugle.
That was my backup
Okay,
plan in case you
right.
took this one.
But it's interesting, right? Because I know this stuff off the top of my head, Rick. Adolf Hitler was made Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933. So we can presume that this newspaper is maybe the next day, January 31st, 1933. So we know exactly when this story is occurring, right?
Well, sometimes it takes a little time for news to make it over. So maybe instead of January 31st, it could have been January 32nd, January 33rd. You never know.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah. That's why I count on you. Yeah.
See, that's what I was talking about. People don't know.
Yeah, they don't
when
know.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
My friends know. The people who know me know.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks.
All right. Next episode, Bob. How would you like to visit 69 with me?
Well, I'd rather. Never mind. I'm not going there.
Come on, Bob. It's 69 with me. We'll it's a good time period.
Yes. It reminds me, I was watching The Office this afternoon with my son, after I got home from work, and we're watching an episode, and Kevin, one of my son's favorite characters, Kevin, the big guy who works in accounting, right? Toby and who's the guy who used to be the foreman down in the warehouse? Anyway, they're selling Girl Scout cookies for their daughters, and they're like trying to sell them to Kevin, and they're like trying to muscle each out of the way. And Kevin's like, no, I want you two to fight over me. I want you to wine, dine, and 69 me. And he's like, well, just hypothetically, theoretically, right? Sorry, Oscar. No offense,
Yeah, we're gonna go to 1969. So
Yeah.
you had a great suggestion to visit this. You know what, Bob? We have yet to do a Jim Steranko issue.
Yeah. There's not that many to pick from.
Right. There's only 3.
Yeah.
I still get asked, why didn't Jim Steranko make it into your favorite Captain America artist? I'm like, because he only did 3 issues.
Yeah. You had cut off with 6, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we took anybody who did 3 issues, it would have had to been like a, in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
As far as amount of people. So anyway, I mean, listen, I'm not. Oh my God! Don't get mad at me. I don't need to get pinged, and
I don't need Jim showing up at my door, banging on my door,
emails and all that. But those are great 3 issues. Don't get me wrong, great 3 issues. But anyway, we're gonna cover Captain America 110, his first Cap issue, and where he actually battles the Hulk.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Captain America versus the Hulk?
Yeah.
That's gonna be something.
Gonna be an interesting story. So yeah.
And
I'm looking forward to this.
There might even be a new Bucky.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. All right, so come back next episode 136. We will cover Captain America 110 by Jim Steranko from 1969. Awesome. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Bob. As always, I gotta say it has been a lot of fun wrapping Cap with you.
Yeah, this has been a ball. I've enjoyed tonight's story, and I'm looking forward to being back same time, same bat place next week.
It's Cap Place.
Oh, Bob. Cap Place. That's right.
Yeah, that's how we roll. All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fan.